Hey everybody, this is Matthew talking to you on my first ever diary / podcast. The idea of podcasting, I have to credit to my good / best friend Ryan, who is living it up in Tokyo right now. I'm talking to you from my desk in China. I am a foreigner in China. We call ourselves expats. We live here. We have residence here, and it is here where I met my best friend Ryan, and the idea for the journey around the world came to life. So I think for this very first podcast, it might behoove me to give you a little insight into what is this journey around the world. It's really a kind of a recent development for me. I arrived in China about 5 years ago, and I was completely motivated by dollar signs. I had a trading company. I had lost a lot of money in a project I was working on, and I was determined to move to China to try and get a handle on my life and my finances here in China. Quality control is something difficult to maintain, and so when I got here, it was my thought that I would kind of take control of the ins and outs of developing the products that I was developing for my clients in the USA. When I got here, it was my first time really outside of North America. I had never been to Europe. I still haven't been to Europe. And I had traveled to China a couple of times for business, but it was very short. And living in China and traveling to China are two completely different things. And it wasn't until I lived here that I really understood what the world was. So, anyways, I'm here. A little nervous. It'll be good. And the world was much greater than my limited American view was able to reveal. And but the beginning wasn't easy. I didn't have a grasp of friendships here. I had my business partner at the time, and she was helping me to find a cheap, small 30-meter apartment to live in. 30 meters is about the size of an American closet. But that was one of the first shocks of living in Asia, is just the downsizing of your personal space, because there's so many people here, and they're all zipping around on e-bikes and taxis and cars and pedal bikes, and they're all doing different things, and you've got to kind of slot in. Interesting story. I remember my first time in China. I about the first month, at the end of the first month, I saw my first real foreigner, somebody that I knew lived in China. It was actually two girls, and they were blonde, and they were riding their bicycles past my Chinese apartment complex. And I remember I was in such a like a hermit hole because I didn't know anybody, and I was afraid to kind of go out and be social, that when I saw them, I ran out into the street, and I swung my arms in the air. I said, "Foreigner, American!" And they turned around in their bikes, and they looked back, and they said, "South African." And I said, "I don't care. Come back. I want to talk to you." And it's funny to think back on just how fresh I was off the boat when I first arrived here. So fast forward about a year, and I met up with Ryan. Ryan is a teacher, a model, but he would say that he's an actor. And he is in Japan right now trying to teach as he scours and works towards getting some modeling jobs and some acting jobs. As a matter of fact, I'll see him in a couple of weeks, and he just attempted to get a big job, and he actually went a few rungs down the ladder, up the ladder, to a Mazda commercial or something, and it was just pretty amazing. He's done some films and commercials, but he is a personality. And when I met him, I was stuck in my desk working very hard and overweight. I was 130 kilos, which is like 230 pounds or something like that. When I arrived, I was way overweight and focused on my business and nothing else. Well, when I met Ryan, Ryan's a guy from Los Angeles. He's relaxed. He's chill. He is a guy that would not be adverse to sleeping on a park bench if he had to, for sake of experience. And this man was all about experiences. And he was also an avid runner. So he and I began a friendship based on health. And he would knock on my door because he lived in my apartment complex eventually. And or I lived in his apartment complex after I moved out of my 30-meter apartment to a beautiful 60-meter apartment, which was like 2 American closets. And I ended up getting him knocking at my door every morning saying, Matt, get up. We're going to go for a run. And so he and I would do these runs, and we would just talk. And he would talk about his past. His past is amazing, and I'll let him tell you about it because he's going to be here in a couple of weeks. This is just about a basic framework of how this journey around the world is coming to be. So I would talk with this guy, and he would give me the most fascinating stories about traveling with no money in his pocket, only the shirt on his back, taking opportunities, really grabbing life by the horns. Israel and Switzerland and all over Europe, and the women and the sex and the fun parties, as well as the spiritual awakenings that he was having, were so amazing. I couldn't quite get a grasp on how amazing it was because I had never lived that kind of life. And Ryan was there to kind of change that. So we ran, and I started shedding weight and feeling more confident. And I remember he and I started doing these trips. We would call them rogue adventures. And we would go to the Chinese train station. Imagine this. You're at a train station. You're surrounded by people who don't speak your language, and you don't speak their language, at least not very well. 现在我说一点点，可是我说得不好. That means I speak a little Chinese, but I don't speak well. And I say that very well, which is kind of contradictory to actually saying I don't speak well really well. That's like my best phrase. Anyways, so we went to the train station, and we'd look up on the board, and we would choose a location. It didn't matter what it was. It just mattered that we could get there and back within a couple of days and spend a day there and scope out the area. And so we took a bunch of these rogue adventures. And we went, one of the most notable is a place called Huzhou. And Huzhou was probably my entry into the world of travel, because when I went there, we went there on a bus. We hitched a ride on a tour group of people that were going to a farm that was producing food for one of the local old uncle, it's called in Chinese, and it sells fast food, but all the fast food is fresh. So they wanted to show people exactly how fresh their fast food was, so they took us to their farm. And me and Ryan wanted to go to Huzhou, and they were headed near there, so we decided to hitch a ride on our first leg. Now, Ryan, I'm part of being a traveler, and I don't think that he's going to fault me for saying this. He's extremely cheap. He's always looking for a deal, and the less amount of money that he has to pay to get to a certain place, the better. So it also showed me that travel doesn't have to be 5-star in order to be 5-star amazing. And so me and Ryan, by any means necessary, the cheapest means necessary, made our way to Huzhou. And at Huzhou, we had just, I wouldn't say that it was a party, and we had party elements. It was just the fact that you're in a new place with people that are so radically different in their appreciation of the world, in their view of you. We would walk around and it was like we were sort of celebrities. And it wasn't a vanity thing. It was just it was like the world was opened up to us and saying, welcome, you know? And we would look back and say, oh, you're welcome. And I remember it was just an amazing experience. We'll get into more of that Huzhou trip later. But after that, we took trips in a bunch of different places, Shaoxing, Xiangshan, and all around China. And I found a joy in travel that superseded money. And I learned that it wasn't money particularly that any of us are really searching for. We're searching for fulfillment, most people. And travel was the thing that filled my glass. So Ryan and I did a couple of even larger trips. We went to Thailand. We went to Indonesia, backpacking in Sumatra, and we had a truly amazing experience in an island called Sumatra and a city called Painan, really a village that was in that island. And me and Ryan, again, we'll talk about this more. I have a lot of video of our travels, and that was amazing. I've also taken some personal trips. I traveled for a month in Thailand, a month and a half by myself, and a month in New Zealand on a /work travel trip. One difference between Ryan and I is that Ryan is motivated by the joy of travel, and that is his center. And again, I don't fault him for that. That's amazing. But I feel like I'm a bit more entrepreneurish, and it really stands out in our travels. Ryan was, in a lot of cases, looking for the opportunity fast and where to go next. And I was a bit more, I wonder how I can work this to our advantage. I wonder how I can negotiate with the local villagers to do this and that. And it's kind of played out into this world trip. Okay, so that's my preface. I love travel. I've learned to love travel. I've come really 180 from when I originally came here to China. And now my whole self, my whole body, my whole mind is geared towards an amazing world journey. Originally, the journey was supposed to be me and Ryan. But as I said, my motivations become very entrepreneurish, and Ryan's motivations are guided primarily by the heart, and both are fantastic. But I started to feel like I wanted to travel literally all the way around the world, and I wanted to dedicate 5 years of my life to it. Ryan was on board with that, and it was really my decision to in August of last year, we were supposed to leave, me and Ryan, and we were going to travel the first leg of our journey, which is through Southeast Asia. And let's see here. We'll just pull up this map here. You can see this is China. This blur, it's not in focus because I don't have a cameraman. I'm literally my own cameraman here, so I apologize. But we were supposed to start there last August. It was at that time that I thought the best way to travel was to get sponsors, get some people to fund us. It doesn't cost a lot to travel, but the things that I wanted to do along the way of the travel did cost money. For example, the end of the first year was climbing Mount Everest, summiting the tallest spot on the earth. So when you stand on top of Mount Everest, you are looking from the highest point. Nobody is higher. Of course, there's a line of people that are going to be as high as you are, obviously. But at that moment in time, it's special and it's momentous. And I thought that if this trip could encompass not only every place in the world that, well, not every place, but many places in the world, all throughout the world, but also I could check off my bucket list a little early. I'm 33 years old, and I realized through my interactions with Ryan and all the people around me that life is much, 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 much more than your little circle. And even if you broaden your circle larger, there's no way you can get everything packed into one lifetime. But you can try. Most people don't try. Most people, maybe by the time they're 60, realize they haven't tried hard enough. And I didn't want to wait that long. So I thought that within this 5-year trip, I could accomplish all the amazing experiences that one person could accomplish or want to accomplish. Now, the things I'm doing aren't necessarily the things that you might want to do or anybody else in the world might want to do. But for me, that's the bee's knees. They include wingsuit jumping, swimming with great white sharks, climbing Mount Everest, crossing the desert on a camel or on a bicycle, or in my case, on a trike, and base jumping into the Cave of Swallows in Mexico. These are all things I've dreamt about since a kid. They're not things that I go at feeling that they're no problem either. I am truly afraid of doing these things. As a matter of fact, I've been able to check off a few on my bucket list already. One of them is base jumping, bungee jumping from the Macau Tower. It's one of the longest bungee jumps in the world, and I was almost in tears. As a matter of fact, if I have time, I'll give you a little background on the Macau Tower jump. It was quite a riveting and scary experience. So I've been trying to check off some things on my bucket list, but the trip itself is destined to reveal new challenges and to check off adventures and challenges that I've dreamt about since I have been a child. So this journey is going to take me through 100 countries, and it is going to end, it could end in Los Angeles in 5 years, or it could end in China again, literally making the full swim around. I met a couple of Russians on a winter swim that I did in central China, and this Russian guy, he swam the Bering Strait, and he wanted to make sure that I knew that he swam the Bering Strait, and so I know that swimming the Bering Strait is possible, and it was my mission that however I do this journey, I do it as JaYoe as I can. And that's a great lead-in to the title of this journey. I dub this journey, and I brand this journey, and I adopt a term that is heard very frequently in China called JaYoe. JaYoe is probably, from an expat point of view, one of the first phrases that you learn. Ni hao, xie xie, zai qian, hello, how are you, goodbye, all these different things, obviously. But if you're a competitive person, if you enjoy anything that is challenging, and you have spectators around you, you will most definitely hear the phrase JaYoe. In Chinese, if you break it down, Jia is add, Yo is fuel. So when you say JaYoe, you mean add fuel. As a matter of fact, if you're driving a car, and I have a license in China, and you're driving and you're running out of fuel, you can look down and look at your passenger and say, JaYoe, meaning that it's time to go and fill up your tank. But as a spirit term, as a adjective, it means do your best. JaYoe, rock on. Do it better than everybody else. Succeed. There's a whole lot of things wrapped up in JaYoe. I kind of think of it as the Chinese hoorah, the Marines hoorah in the American Marines. And when I thought of a name for this journey, originally it was a rogue life journey. Me and Ryan kind of adopted that. But Rogue Life is taken by a company called Relativity Media, and they were not adverse to taking it, letting us take it. So, anyways, now I have dubbed, and I'm at the moment developing this idea into a tangible brand. I have yet to retool everything from last year's Ryan and Matt journey to the Matt solo journey around the world, the JaYoe adventure. But I'm well on my way. I have a partnership with Annie, and I have financing coming together. I have registrations for the amazing adventures like the climb up Mount Everest. And as I said before, these things aren't cheap. The climb up Mount Everest is around $60,000, $40,000 to $60,000 US dollars just to get the permits and the team to help you to summit. Now, if I'm a professional climber, I might not need that, but a lot of these things I need to learn, and I don't mind going the extra mile in order to do it the right way and pay the money. And as long as adventure's still in there, and as long as I accomplish the goal, I think it's well worth it. So here I am in China, once businessman, entrepreneur, now businessman, entrepreneur, traveler, ready to take on the world and travel over the next 5 years and do it not alone, but in partnership with other travelers around the world on the seat of a custom machine built in Germany, hopefully. I'm flying to Germany in a couple of weeks to talk with the makers of a, they call it a trike. It's actually a tricycle. It's a 3-wheeled bicycle. And by the name, it does sound sort of strange. I think of a big wheel. When I was a kid, you rode the big wheel, and it sounds somewhat, I don't know. I don't like the idea of the sound of the word trike, but it has a lot of benefits. One, when you ride it, it's recumbent, so you're riding actually leaning back. Me and Ryan actually went and inspected a couple of trikes ourselves, and why don't I show you a little video of our first experience with actually riding trikes.
We are on our way to find the right bicycle. Will it be a bent tricycle? I don't know. Let's go find out.
Yeah, this will be my first ride on a recumbent. This is your first ride, right?
This will be my first ride.
I hope these bikes are comfortable, man.
Okay, so we are looking at Cat Trike, Azer, and Ice.
Okay.
And this is our expert, who is just going over some of the things that we might want to know.
The finer points?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good. It's a comfortable ride, not a fast ride.
We gotta balance that.
You know, after the first week, you guys are not going to be thinking about calories.
You're right.
It's just going to be kind of like a conveyor belt.
Sure. I would love to ride that.
I
One
need
ice,
Yeah.
one ice, one Cat Trike, and one of this.
Yeah.
I like the
What do you think?
I like it, man. I mean, I love the way it looks. Don't get me wrong. Remember, though, I did read that the mounting system on this is a little more difficult. How's the helmet look?
This is our first trike. It's definitely interesting. We could camp out on these
We
things.
can sleep on these as long as it's not raining. But look how comfortable it is.
Yeah.
And there's a safety issue on my jump. I'm not going to get testicular trauma. The ice has shocks, and you got to think about mounting as well.
Let's get the next bike, Shay.
Did you like the idea of 3 with 1 hand?
Oh, this is our first time taking these, and other than the helmets, they're not that bad. Well, I think I've got bigger girth.
It could be that you just look like a big guy.
It's a big guy.
I think Matt has to go Magnum. He's just that type of guy.
Well, this one's different. This one's a little bit smoother. I don't know, I feel like I'm a big guy riding a little trike.
I would say you look like a big guy riding a little trike. So Matt and I have tried out all the trikes, and what we have here is the Ice Sprint. Very quick, very sexy, but I can feel my ass slipping off the seat. Okay, over here we have the Cat Trike Villager as well as the Expedition. Comfy, nice, but a little bumpy, okay? Come on over this way. We have the Azub, fantastic steering, very smooth. Czech manufacturer with a manual that doesn't have the right translation. Come on over this way. We have the Ice Adventure, which is a little high up on the clearance level. Not so cool in the looks department. Of course, consider that it is a base model and they do have better ones out in the UK. Let's go on over here. And we have another sexy Azub and the Magnum, which we were both drawn to, and Matt just absolutely loves.
Now this one here, as far as utility goes, it's really nice. Wheels turn really, really far. It's not like a bike. It's not like you can hop a curb or turn that tire completely to the side, So it's like you gotta take some sacrifices, but the good thing about it is once you're in there, I mean, I'm sitting down, right? I'm off the ground. The negative to it is that as you sit farther forward, your gut sticks out. Like when you're riding a bike, you're kind of like sitting up, your posture is up, but this way, you kind of like, I don't know, it's gonna force me to have to lose weight, I feel like. But this one, for example, has a heavy center bar, and I could probably mount a tripod right to the center here. And then on the back, you'd have panniers almost, this whole back could be just mounded with equipment, which would be great. But I could take that camera Ryan's holding, and I could, that's pretty cool,
Hell yeah.
I can jam my arm in and do a really nice pan, That's pretty cool. That's really cool.
Smooth, nice.
That's something you couldn't do with a bike.
So there you go. You can tell that they're a little bit funky. They're unique, but they take a lot of weight, like Ryan said, off your prostate, which is great. And you can sit down in a relaxed position while you're resting, which is very important. We're going to be riding around the world. This is a great base to ride from. Not only that, but I enjoy documenting and videography. And riding on something that acts almost like a camera dolly is extremely beneficial. So I'm excited about using this thing and riding from it and treating it like my own mobile documentary studio. And I'm sure it's going to attract some attention. And if it's built properly and these things are fully suspended, and if I have a partnership with the company that's doing it and they're willing to assist me with any damages, I think that I could ride this thing around the world. And if I did, I would be the first guy to ride a trike literally around the world this distance. So Anyways, I wanted to start this as sort of a podcast / diary to keep people abreast of what's going on and what we're doing so that they can, when I leave in August of 2013, that they can ride with me. You guys and all of you watching can ride part and part with me. You'll understand the backstory. You'll understand why I'm doing it. You'll understand the reasons why. And maybe you'll get a little inspired and understand that anything is possible. All you have to do is dream it. And I've been dreaming it for a long time. I've been working on this project for about 3-4 years. And it's truly amazing. I'm going to introduce you to some of my friends' life in China. I'm going to show you places and things, and through the videos I produce and the things that I'm going to be doing, you all can join me on this JaYoe adventure and see some really amazing things. I don't intend to travel like I think anybody has ever traveled before. I think it's a unique time in history where technology enables you to carry some pretty amazing equipment. It's not as heavy as it used to be, but it's still pretty bulky. And as long as you have a personality and are ready to talk to people around the world, I think that you're going to learn some really amazing things. And so am I. And we're all going to learn together. Because I'm not a professional. I am going at this from a state of being open to the world because it's worked for me before, and allowing the world to show me the most amazing adventures and the most amazing things that anybody has ever seen. And I hope that you are along for the ride. So I think I'll wrap this little diary entry up, this little podcast, this JaYoe Podcast on November 26th, Tuesday. Thanks for joining me. And don't forget, JaYoe.